record. And now, let's hope it works. I'm going to share my screen with you. Share. Please work this time. Yes. Okay, good. All right, I have to be gentle because this joker is joker. All right. And I'm sorry that you all have to see this, but I had to be very delicate as you all saw what just happened. Okay, bam. Ah, okay. Okay. So at this point, I hope you all have enrolled in the class, and that enrollment would have taken place through Summit. If you have not, please write down the enrollment code, and I will make sure that you have enrolled in the class before it's over today. Okay, so here is our agenda for today. So the lesson is called Representing Data. And the objective is to create a graphic representation of data. And that's just a mathematical way of saying we're going to create some graphs given a set of data. And again, the state of Pennsylvania says we are, state of Pennsylvania says we are all to be aligned. So this is the standard that we are all working on. Okay. And ultimately, again, it is saying that we will take a problem and we will be able to decide which graph is the best representation and interpretation and or interpret the data that we are given. So we will start as usual. Our agenda for today, we're going to have a little community meeting. Then we are going to review the characteristics of dot plots and histograms, because we did those on Monday. And then today we're going to talk about box plots again, because if I remember correctly, box plots were like, and then we are going to do, we're going to practice doing representing data as a whole. And then we'll talk about the assignment that's due next Friday. So, community meeting. So, what is your fondest memory of elementary school? Again, what is your fondest memory of elementary school? And if the teacher can start. When I was in the 5th grade, I used to volunteer in the kindergarten class. So I guess that's where I was tapping into my teachers in, even as a 9-year-old. But that was good because, you know, I got to like set up, and it was just to set up the class. So I would make sure, you know, the paint was right and everybody's desk was straight and they had whatever supplies they needed for the morning activity. It was really cool. And, you know, I helped the teacher keep the class together. So that was a good thing for me as an elementary school student. Anybody else have anything to share? The fondest memory of elementary school? Let me see if somebody's chatting me. Ah, yes, Eli, it's on YouTube. Yes, Philly has a YouTube channel. And yes, we post our class recording. So if you go there, if you miss anybody's class, it's there. And yes. Oh, okay. So, that's nice. You had the end of year carnival. Nice. Anybody else? A fond memory? Of elementary school. That's nice. What school did you go to that you all had an end of year carnival? That's what elementary school did you go to?
Climber, right there at 12th and Lehigh.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That must have been real cool. That's like something you look forward to, right?
Yep.
That's cool. That's nice. That's nice. We used to have play day too. You just played all day long. Went outside. Mm-hmm. Anybody else with a fond memory of elementary school? Okay. You know, sharing is optional in these times. All right, let us then move forward. Okay, so in this unit, remember, we will be comparing data presented in 3 different ways. So a dot plot, we are just mentioning because you may see it, but for the most part, our studies will definitely be with box plots and histograms. However, we do need to still understand a dot plot. So a dot plot is usually used with small data sets, and it shows each individual term in the data set. So each dot represents a term. So for the data set that's presented here, there are 2 people who are only children. There are 3 people who have either one brother or sister. Again, there are 5 people who have 2 siblings. There are 3 people who have 3 siblings, and there are 2 people who have 4 siblings. So the beauty and so the height of each bar represents the frequency of that value or category. So here we can see each individual person. Okay, so if you were doing something where you needed to know about each individual person or each individual term, then a dot plot would be your best graph. Then we talked about a histogram. A histogram is based on continuous data. And to show that there are no gaps between the bars like you would have in a bar graph. However, there may be absences. So the frequency table is used to organize your data into bins, and the bins are just equally spaced groups. So here, this first bin goes from 120 to 140, but you see the next bin or group goes from 140 to 160. So the data is continuous. Therefore, there are no spaces in between the bars. Okay? And remember, when you are speaking of the data, the high end gets counted in the next group. So in this histogram that is shown, this first bin will include the numbers from 120 to 139. Then the second group will represent those numbers from 140 to 159. And then here, this group starts with 160, goes to 179. This one starts with 180, goes to 200. This one starts with 200, goes to 219. And this one starts with 220 and goes up to 239. So again, a histogram shows continuous data. There are no gaps, and the data is grouped together, and the frequency of terms in that entire group are counted there. Excuse me. So now let us, I might need to switch this around. Give me 1 second. 1 second, 1 second. Okay. All right. So now here's where note-taking begins, ladies and gentlemen. The next graph that we are going to discuss is called a box plot. And you all may remember it from middle school as a box and whiskers. Okay? And a box plot is merely a 5-number summary of the data that you are given. So there are basically 5 steps, 5 steps to this 5-number summary. So first, just like anytime we are doing anything related to statistics, you will put the data in numerical order. So now in 2 to 5, you will now find the 5 terms. So in number 2, you identify the maximum and minimum values, excuse me. You will identify the maximum and minimum terms of your data set. Then you will find the median, which in statistics is called Q2, of the data set. Okay, so of the entire data set, you are again finding the middle. So once you find the middle of the data set, then 4th step, you find the middle of the lower half of the data, which we call Q1, and it'll all come together. And then Q3 is the median of the upper half of the data. So the Q means quartile. So what a box plot does, in essence, is it divides the data into 4 parts using 5 numbers. So here is the first part. That's the first quarter. This is the second quarter. This is the third quarter. And this is the fourth quarter. All together, 4 quarters make 100%. So this represents all of the data. So what I want you to put in your notes are these 5 steps, and then leave some space because we are going to do each of the steps together. So I have 9:54. I will give you about 3 minutes to again write down these 5 steps, leave some space next to it so that we can arrange this data that is at the bottom. So the data set that we are going to use is 9, 7, 2, 5, 12, 14, 16, 13, 18. So please write the data set also. And again, those of you who remember how to do box plots, you can begin to do the steps or do as much as you understand. Why does she do that all the time? I don't understand. All right, we're going to take about another minute, and then we're going to go through the steps. All right, so the first thing is we will put the data in numerical order. And again, because it's a PowerPoint, all of my stuff is going to move in at the same time. All right, so for the first step, we put the data in numerical order. So 2, 5, 7, 9, 13, 14, 16, 18. Step 2 says identify the maximum and minimum terms. Well, the minimum, the smallest value is 2. The maximum is 18. So that's 2 of the numbers for our 5-number summary. In number 3, it says find the median, which is they call Q2, of. So there are 9 terms, and remember, the median sits physically in the middle, making 12 our median. So now in step 3, we now have 3 of the 5 numbers we need for our 5-number summary. And then, hello, welcome, welcome. This was a poor choice of color, so I'm going to take this out and I'm just going to make it a different color so that you all can see it a little better. And I'm just going to make it black. All right. Just give me 1 minute to make a small adjustment here. Thank you for your patience as I do my thing. All right. Okay. So now, again, we are at step 3. So step 3, we found the median of the data. So remember, the median now puts half of the data on one side, half of the data on the other. So in step 4, we look for the median of the lower half of the data. So we're looking here, 2, 5, 7, 9. But again, there are now 4 terms. We can't find the physical middle of 4 terms. So remember, So remember your rules of finding the median. Anybody remember? If it's an even number, what do? How do you find the median? Somebody, anybody? Somebody chatting me? Let me see. Nobody's chatting me? Come on. How do you find the median when you have, how do you find the median when you have an even set of terms? Anybody remember? All right, so therefore, since nobody's talking to me, I'm going to assume that you need a little refresher on that. So remember, for Q1, you're looking at, again, the front or the lower half of the data. There are 4 terms, so we will add the middle 2, 5 plus 7, and we will divide by 2 because we are now finding the average. So Q1, or the median of the lower half, is 6. And then step 5 says to find the median of the upper half of the data. So the upper half of the data runs 13, 14, 16, 18. And again, because there is an even number of terms, we will take the middle 2, add them together, and then divide by 2. So that's how we have, that's how we got to 15. And again, in your notes, you write down what you need to write down so that the material makes sense. I understand that math is a little difficult virtually, but we're going to do the best we can with what we have. So now that we have the 5-number summary that we need, this is how they go in a box plot. The minimum goes first. Then, Q1 or quartile 1, the first quarter. Then quartile 2, or the median of the entire data set. And then the median of the upper half, or Q3. That forms your box. And then the last term is the maximum. And then you draw your whiskers. So again, when you actually construct the box and whiskers, you are using 5 terms. The minimum, the median of the lower half of the data, the median of the data set itself, the median of the upper half of the data, and the maximum value of the data. So again, I will leave this up here. And I asked you all in your notes to leave some space so that you can write the response next to each step. So I will give you a couple minutes to do that. Oh, send a text. Okay. I'm gonna give you about 2 more minutes. And because that'll be 10 after, and then we'll use this last 10 minutes to have you do a little bit of practice on this. Okay, dokie. All right, everybody have what they need? Okay, well, we shall see. So now, here's what I want you all to do. Using the data set presented here, I want you to do numbers 1 and 3. I want you to construct a histogram, and I want you to construct a box plot. Not necessarily a dot plot, because in this data set, because we don't have any repetitions, I'll show you in the results. So here's what I want you to do for me. I want you to do this assignment, take a picture of it and send it to me. My email address is L Hickson, HICKSON at yesphilly.org. Again, I want you to construct a histogram and construct a box plot using the given data set: 3, 7, 8, 5, 12, 14, 21, 13, and 18. So that is your task, darlings. Let me exit this for a second. Okay. So I am going to, so you have about 10 minutes to do this. So I'm going to stop the recording. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, if there is anything that you do not understand, that you don't ask the question in the class, we have lab every day, 1 o'clock. Well, every day except Wednesday at 1 o'clock. Stop by, ask your question, get some clarity, and let's move on. So I am going to stop the recording.